DBS presents CNBC TV18 India-Singapore Connect.
The DBS India-Singapore Connect Summit celebrated the partnership between India and Singapore. From investment to tourism and entrepreneurship, the summit showcased ideas driving growth and collaboration across borders.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What an absolute honor it is to welcome you all to the DBS India-Singapore Connect, a gathering that celebrates the remarkable bond between India and Singapore. From advanced digital technologies to UPI Pay Now linkage to groundbreaking collaborations in sectors like renewable energy, critical technology and healthcare, India and Singapore have continually set new benchmarks, and together we believe we're building frameworks for sustainable development, with Singapore playing a significant role in India's green transition through collaborative efforts in solar energy, green hydrogen and beyond. Our nations are not just collaborating in trade and investment, but also pioneering new frontiers in technology and digital innovation. In fact, recently, India and Singapore announced a groundbreaking semiconductor ecosystem partnership that lays the foundation for critical technology sectors. Furthermore, initiatives to enhance digital interoperability between our economies are creating seamless, efficient, and digital pathways that strengthen our economic and technological ties. So, ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to a stimulating conversation on the road ahead. Appreciate you being here this evening.
Good evening and very warm welcome on behalf of DBS to the India-Singapore Connect Summit. The growth of our franchise over the last 30 years, but more importantly in the last 15 years, have been spectacular. Because it's the last decade that has seen the biggest growth for DBS in India. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we request Mr. Piyush Gupta, Group CEO of DBS, to come on stage and make his special address.
DBS has been a big exemplar of Singapore's thrust into India. Honestly, it's not just because I'm of Indian origin and I wanted to do business in India. Right from our board, our senior team, our shareholders, Temasek, there is a long-term vision and belief that India is going to define a big and important part of DBS's future. It is today the country where we have the largest number of branches, 500 plus. We're in 350 cities. We are in 19 states across the country. It is our fastest growing business anywhere of all the businesses that we do. We have a Gift City branch, which is growing really well. We have a technology center in Hyderabad with 4,000 people, which I loosely say is not Foxconn, it's Apple, because it's the hub of our innovation system. So our business here continues to grow well. And my last comment, a lot of it is on the back of the relationship that we have with many of you. You have been fantastic. You've been supporters, you've been cheerleaders, you've been partners. And so I want to wind up with a big thank you to all of you for helping us to get to where we are today, for helping show the way.
And now it's time to invite our next speaker for the evening, Honorable Minister for Home Affairs and Minister for Law, Mr. K. Shanmugam.
Very good evening to all of you. DBS is not alone. Its story mirrors that of many Singaporean companies, and more broadly, Singapore's economic relationship with India. It's a relationship that's built on trust, powered by vision, and underscored by commitment. For example, CapitaLand, or Ascendas, it is what's then known, established India's first IT park in Bangalore early on during India's IT boom, and they also celebrated their 30th anniversary in India this year. PSA started with a small port in Tuticorin in 1998. Now it operates all over India, including here in Mumbai. And early this year, PSA opened India's first 100% renewable powered container terminal at Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust, JNPT, here in Mumbai. More recently, Sembcorp announced its large-scale green hydrogen plant in India that will aim to send India's first shipments of green hydrogen to Japan. Meanwhile, Singapore Airlines' stake in Air India will pave the way for deeper cooperation between the airlines and grow connectivity between Singapore and India. GIC and Temasek have also helped to grow many Indian companies and startups in sectors of healthcare, real estate, e-commerce. Singapore is not the biggest country in the world. India has the heft and the size. Why are we talking about partnership? It's because size, physical size is one factor, population size is one factor. These are key factors. But also agency in international affairs is a key factor. Singapore offers Indian companies access to Asia, especially to ASEAN's fast-growing economies. They invest in Singapore because of our regional expertise, connectivity, strong legal framework for IP and data, as well as transparency and accountability in business operations. Our former Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, always believed that India is an intrinsic part of this unfolding new world order. India is a major power and has the heft to be bracketed with the United States, Europe, and China. And in this new world order, Singapore continues to be a good friend and partner. You know, we spent several hours together discussing issues, areas where we could work together. We agreed on 6 areas: sustainability, digitalization, skills development, healthcare and medicine, advanced manufacturing, connectivity. And in September, Prime Minister Modi visited Singapore, endorsed these areas for cooperation. And PM Modi also witnessed the signing of MOUs in a number of areas. Let me give a sense of cooperation. On semiconductors, India is keen to develop its semicon industry. Singapore is home to a diverse semiconductor ecosystem with manufacturing activities across the value chain, from design to wafer fabs and packaging and testing. It might come as a surprise that we account for 10% of all the chips produced worldwide within the 720 square kilometers of Singapore on a good day, and 20% of all advanced equipment production in the value chain for semiconductors. And the players in our ecosystem are keen to work with Indian partners. So under the MOU, we can grow the ecosystem together, including a variety of exchanges. On digitalization, India's digital public infrastructure and strengths of its IT industry and talents are well known. And Singapore is keen to work with India in areas such as fintech. And we have strong regulatory frameworks for finance, data, AI. And again, on skills, we are doing many things together. For example, top students from Odisha have been invited to Singapore for a 6-month internship, provides them with hands-on learning and cross-cultural experiences. We will also be looking at maintaining quality standards in technical skilling through certification. So in conclusion, let me say this: the India-Singapore relationship is a strong and enduring one. It's built on deep historic, diplomatic, and economic ties, and we look forward to building on this foundation and exploring new avenues for cooperation and innovation. Thank you very much.
DBS presents CNBC TV18 India Singapore Connect. DBS presents CNBC TV18 India Singapore Connect.
It's now time for our final enlivening session, a fireside chat between two very special women. Both of them are not only experts in their respective fields, but also champions of innovation and empowerment, setting new benchmarks for the next generation of leaders. It is a privilege to welcome on stage Ms. Shireen Ban. Joining her is none other than Ms. Tan Sushan, the Deputy CEO and Group Head of Institutional Banking at DBS.
Let's start by talking about DBS in India and the aspiration now that you've been able to do 30 years in India. But on banking, what's the aspiration that you have now for India?
Well, DBS is betting big on India. I mean, that's very clear. It is the one market outside. It's a major market for us, and it's a market where we have comprehensive suite of banking products. Frankly, what's there not to like about India, right? You've got the largest demographic, you've got a young demographic, you've got a digitally connected demographic, you've got a highly educated demographic, hardworking, innovative, smart. And frankly, both the geopolitical wins and economic wins and the structural wins, tailwinds that this country has, it's all aligned. The stars are aligned for India.
The stars are aligned for India. So given the fact that the stars are aligned for India, Sushant, from 19 cities that you currently, or 19 states that you currently operate, 500 branches that you currently have across India at this point in time, where do you see this, in terms of where DBS's footprint could be, where DBS's investments could be in India over the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, Prime Minister Modi did what was an incredible leap for India by digitizing India, creating the India Stack, and creating one, payment rails, number two, payments and collections in a uniform digital fashion. And that created the data and digital footprint that enabled businesses and financial institutions to both transact easily and to make informed judgment calls, and frankly, better judgment calls. And I think that was a game changer.
Yeah.
Then you have, the telcos, the big telcos here coming up with, free access.
Not any longer.
Not any longer.
Not any longer.
But you have an incredibly connected population.
With the lowest cost of data.
With the lowest cost of data, Shireen, absolutely. And that is another leapfrog. And that's why we think, we've invested in branches because we believe in both a digital and a physical footprint. We believe in what we call a phygital footprint. But we also believe that we can help across different segments, from the micro SMEs and SMEs to the large corps. We can help them both because the digital, prowess is there. We can use what we have in our digital stack to coincide with the India digital stack to enable instant real-time payments, collections, instant loan approvals, etc. And on the retail side, both, as I said, both in the digital and the physical footprint, be it instant account opening, instant loan approvals, and also wealth management. So, as I said, the stars are aligned. I think with the structural growth will come the continued growth in the need for financial services. And we're here to enable that. And that will be enabled by both a digital offering, a physical offering, and of course, a connectivity offering and a sustainability offering.
I want to pick up on the Indian SME. And I know that you have a fund with Temasek that looks at opportunities within this space. And what India's drawing the largest chunk of what the fund is putting out?
I was just sharing with Shireen that a few years ago, Temasek and DBS started a growth debt fund. And it was a pan-Asian fund. But lo and behold, when we started investing, a lot of it, most of it actually came into India, just because the opportunities were abundant in India. As I said, because of the digital stack, but also because there was a growth in demand for such services. And we've been very happy with the outcome so far.
But it's been 15 years for you at DBS. As you take on this new role from the able hands of Piyush Gupta. Yes, what are you most excited about?
Well, I'm excited to continue Piyush's great legacy of the culture that we've built around transformative innovation. The thing is with transformative innovation is that, change is constant. You never know what new technology will pivot your business to. You have to be ready for those changes. You have to be ready to seize the moments and seize the opportunities, be agile. Experiment. If you fail fast, move on. Be able to build new target operating models, but to continue the spirit of innovation, experimentation, and moving forward. I think that's what I'm most excited about. And of course, building the connectivity with core markets like India.
Well, that would be crucial and key to your new role as well. But, you talked about innovation, and what we are seeing here in India is a plethora of new age companies, largely driven by first-generation entrepreneurs that are going on to create both wealth now and, of course, value. How are you looking at India's startup ecosystem and the way that you can contribute to nurturing it?
So we have reached out in various forms, whether it's funding them, whether it's through the DBS Foundation with some social impact, and also whether through Evolution X, our fund with Temasek. And we've created something called the Digital Economy Group, which is very busy in India right now because we believe that the new economy deserves a new way of banking. You've got to look at them not from the old traditional banking lens, but also from a new, different ways of funding, different ways of growth. They might be burning more money initially, but if there's a pathway to profitability, there's a pathway to asset recycling or currency recycling or whatever, you have to look at it differently. I also believe that New India has a lot of potential in the sustainability front, and that requires special skills around project finance, and also leadership skills around syndicated finance and blended finance, and the ability to then look at this holistically, bring in different kinds of financing partners, right? And the role that DBS can play is in a leadership role in being the financial advisor for these things, because you need to bring in people, you need to bring in different financial investors or multi-development banks, etc., who all have different risk parameters and different time zones, time frames, frankly. And so bringing people to the table and structuring something that works for everyone, and then coming with creating PPPs, creating ECAs, having ECAs, export agency, credit agencies, setting up an insurance, for example, and then when the asset matures, recycling those assets. And that can be for sustainability assets, it can be for infrastructure assets, frankly, it can be for longer term digital assets as well. And so and I see DBS playing a very strong role, both in terms of our depth of understanding of the industries, be it in technology, in infrastructure, in renewables, in materials, but also in structuring and advice, and also asset recycling.
Well, asset recycling has been something that the Indian government has put on its priority list as well. It's been a slowish start, but the hope is that it will be a much more comprehensive move forward over the next few years. But, India's inclusion in the global bond indexes, how do you see that changing the complexity of the equation?
I think it's exciting. And I think that's another large, the DCM market, and it's very complementary to the ECM market, and alongside a very active private equity market, and soon potentially a private, credit market as well. So I think the whole capital financing ecosystems coming together quite nicely for India, and as a serious participant, we have to look at all of them.
So let me end then by asking you, what is the big hope as far as this relationship, this partnership is concerned? And if there's one challenge that you believe both sides need to work on, what would that be?
So my hope is, we will continue to see the strong double-digit growth. There are not many economies in the world growing at 7% with 1.4 billion people.
Yes, it is clearly the economic outlier today, yes.
We say this, when things are very good, don't lose your head, and when things are bad, don't lose your heart. So I think we will have cycles. We're in a good part of the cycle now, but I hope that when things hit a road bump, we will be resilient, and we will recover from it quickly. My hope is that both, certainly today's topic around the Singapore and India connectivity, I hope that these ties will deepen with a deep understanding on both sides, built on trust and innovation, and also going beyond the whole business transactions, but also long-term growth. I hope that we look at this with a long-term lens. Certainly at DBS, we have invested in India with a long-term lens in mind. So we will take the volatility as it comes, and hopefully it won't be too bad on the downside. Just as we enjoy the upside, it won't be too bad on the downside. But we're taking a long-term lens. We are fully invested, and we are hopeful and bullish that this bet's going to pay off in a very good way for us.
Well, we wish you the very best of
you.
luck, and we hope that it is the right bet that you've made, and may you continue to enjoy success here in India like you have done in the past 30 years, and may the next 30 years be even more glorious for you. But thank you very, very much.
Cheers to
Ladies
that.
and gentlemen, a big round of applause
Thank
for
you.
Sushant. Thank you so much.
DBS presents CNBC TV18 India Singapore Connect.